of economic activity in the city of late have been in downtown and in Hollywood. In fact, it's some of the only neighborhoods we're still having some groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings of projects of any scope and size. I want to thank the Hollywood community that has been a big part of that and that has made sure that we take streets that were once vacant and breathe life back into them. Today, though, we have a project before us that is, I think, necessary to move forward, but a little more complicated than that. So I'm going to ask my colleagues to bear with me while we lay some things out in the public record. We have two different issues right now for folks who have been along Vine Street, a street that was named for the grapevines that used to grow there when Los Angeles County was the #1 wine-producing county in the country. Years later, when Hollywood went, the temperance movement came and it became a dry town. After that, it was replaced by the movie industry, and Vine Street became synonymous with the studios, with the radio shows, with the live TV that made Hollywood's first golden age so famous. For years, though, in the last 20 or 30 years, Vine Street and Hollywood and Vine became synonymous with what had gone wrong in Hollywood, with the crime, with the prostitution and the drug dealing and the gang members that were on our streets. And yet the Hollywood community came together, and ironically, because we talked a lot about redevelopment yesterday, it was the business community and the residential community of Hollywood that said, let's have a redevelopment area where we say nothing has happened for 20 years. We've had projects that have said that they are going to breathe life back into Hollywood, but they are not working. So let's take a bet on the future. Let's put a redevelopment area in there, get some people back to work and start building up. And lo and behold, 10 years later, the Academy Awards came back and the Kodak Theater was built. Small businesses started filling in the infill between those streets. Big projects like the ArcLight took things like the Cinerama Dome, which had been vacant, and brought jobs back and economic activity. And now in Hollywood, when you go there, one of the best problems we have right now is traffic, which I'm busily trying to solve. But before we had no traffic, now we have so many people that that is a good problem for us to be solving. Today, though, we have a development on the lot that is at Selma and Vine, one of the most famous intersections just to the north of it is Hollywood and Vine, Sunset and Vine, where we used to have studios there next to the incredible Ricardo Montalban Theater, which has been an amazing cultural asset in the area. Across the street from the new Red Line development that was done above that for the W Hotel and the apartments that are there. We have seen a revitalization, but we still see some empty lots, which are unsafe places at night, which do not make pedestrians feel welcome, and which leave Hollywood half-finished. We have not seen new commercial building built in Hollywood in some time. Besides the one exception of the Technicolor building at the Sunset Gower Studios, we've not seen new commercial space built. And yet we've seen companies want to come to Hollywood. Nielsen, which is the company that does all the television ratings, came to us years ago and was able to get into what was called then the House of Blues building on Sunset and Vine. They brought over 500 jobs, averaging over $70,000 per person because Hollywood got it done. But I can't tell you how many other folks who have wanted to come to Hollywood simply can't find the space. And those that are in Hollywood in Class B office space want Class A space. These are agencies. These are production companies. These are the jobs that can't be outsourced. And we talked about Ms. Perry's project in downtown. The 3 T's are the big economic drivers of this economy: trade, tourism, and technology. Well, we talked about 2 of them. The Hanjin Company is all about tourism and trade. Now we talk about technology. The Hollywood entertainment industry that has been one of the best imports that we have anywhere in the world. The proposal that is before us gets a little more complicated, though. This empty lot was owned by somebody who isn't a big fan of the CRA. The CRA was looking to develop it, but they would not sell directly to the CRA. So they had before them a piece of property that then a developer was willing to buy, pass on to the CRA. Usually it's the CRA that buys the piece of land. But in this case, since that owner wouldn't give it to them, that developer came in and said and bought the land and then conveyed that to the Community Redevelopment Agency. Bottom line is we own this piece of land now. There has been considerable money put in by this developer to develop the project that you see here in the Horseshoe, colleagues, beautifully designed Class A office space building. The wrinkle in this has been the CRA and the conduct that the agency had. And I have raised questions in here about the appraisal of that land in the first place, in which we had one appraisal that was done and learned later through good acts of the public that there was a second appraisal that had been done, that had come in lower. And the question was, did we pay too much for this land? Now, these are two separate questions, because today before us we have an option of do we build this project or not? And then what do we do about the process that seemed to have not worked well? And I appreciate Mr. Cardenas and Mr. Alarcon, and especially our chair, Mr. Wesson, for asking those questions, which, for those of you who haven't been in committee, were asked as well. There's no question in my mind that CRA's conduct in this manner and overall must be aggressively scrutinized. And while I'm pleased to see that processes for making these sorts of appraisals, have been changed, I still am not satisfied that we know who did it and why and what consequences will come to those people. I've just heard that they've moved on. They're not the people that are in the Hollywood office right now. I've asked the tough questions, and I've sent this project back to the CRA repeatedly, and I've made them investigate and report, and we put it through committee 2 times. And they will continue, and I want to hear that from the CRA today. I know I'm going to be a little bit over my time, but I'm going to press the button again and ask some hard questions of the CRA. And I want them to assure the people of Los Angeles of what the issues are and what is at stake on that. It's my understanding that the seller, though, of this land is not a party to this development agreement. So issues regarding that appraisal process, and I expect them to continue to be held accountable for that, and I want to hear about that, does not affect the viability of this project. Right now, we have the option of saying, okay, we could say, kill this project. Let's just leave that empty lot vacant. We still would own it, though. We would have no developer there, and we would start all over again. We have to correct what went wrong, but since we own this right now, the option is, do we move forward or do we not? I think it's more prudent to see this project move forward under the development agreement before us, and I'll tell you why. This land is already purchased. I believe that not moving forward with a piece of land that the CRA paid millions of dollars for and that would sit idle, because in this market, nobody else is going to step up right now and make that development happen. I also think that in addition, when we look at the money that's been put in, we would be looking in this market at a further subsidy if we say bring in new developers and see who will do this. And we also would be looking at 2 or 3 year delay, in my opinion, on this as well. In addition to the CRA dollars, millions of private funds have been put in this project. So I'm inclined to think that the current investors have a stake in getting this finished. And that is a good thing for the workers, and it's a good thing for Hollywood. Furthermore, my understanding is the agreement we're voting on today contains myriad requirements that must be met. In other words, if they don't meet these, we still own the land. We have the best insurance policy possible. If it does not move forward, ownership of the land stays with the people, it stays with the city, and I want CRA to confirm that we are protected, that our action does not transfer title of this land to the developer. A third wrinkle, there's a hamburger stand for folks who have ever been there. There's a family that owns a little hamburger stand. And we negotiated very hard to make sure that the little guy didn't get trampled on while we move Hollywood development forward. And without some agreement today, Molly's Burgers, which I've had many tasty burgers at over the years, otherwise just sits there, nothing happens to them, they don't get compensated, they don't move forward, and they're in limbo for a long time as well. So, colleagues, I believe our action today should be guided by what gives us the best chance to build some Class A office space that Hollywood hasn't seen in 25 years. This type of space for entertainment and other companies, they look to in Burbank, Culver City, and other places, but not the city of L.A. And we should be guided by the best chance for construction jobs, new business, and permanent jobs, and millions of dollars in spending and revenues for our budget. This isn't about letting the CRA off the hook today. I want to be very clear about that. We have a chance to make sure that the nonsense in this case doesn't cost Los Angeles much-needed jobs. And with that, I don't know if there's others on the queue. Otherwise, I'll press my button and keep going.
Thank you very much. I would like to call on Mr. Cardenas.